Connor Powell, live on the latest bombings. Thank you so much. And here with us to weigh in on that and much more, author of The First Hostage and many other bestsellers. He's also served as a top advisor to leaders both here in the U.S. and in Israel, where he now lives. Joel Rosenberg, always good to see you.
Great to be with you.
Let me start by getting your reaction to the bombing of the Coptic Christians in Egypt. We've often talked about the threat to religious minorities in that area. And Egypt had really been working towards stability. This is a setback.
It is. Look, radical Islam is trying to destroy Christian communities in Syria, in Iraq, now in Egypt. President El-Sisi's got his hands full. But it's interesting when you think of President Trump as then candidate Trump, who are the two leaders he met with at the UN? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Egyptian President El-Sisi. I think that strengthening a Sunni Arab ally like El-Sisi, like the King of Jordan and others is going to be important, but this is a devastating blow. And as an evangelical, an Israeli evangelical in that sense, my heart goes out to our Christian brothers and sisters in the Coptic Church. We need to be praying for them. And as a country, both America, Israel, and our other allies standing with Egypt in a very challenging moment.
And by the way, one of our allies, Israel, where you now live full-time, taking delivery of a couple of F-35s and talking about how that will give Israel different ways to probe, to gather surveillance, to go places undetected, and they live in a very, very rough neighborhood.
Look, there's been a lot of criticism by conservatives that President Obama has been horrible towards Israel. Look, there's been a horrible relationship between President Obama and Netanyahu, but you have a memorandum of understanding of $38 billion of military cooperation over the next 10 years, and these F-35s are critical both to U.S. national security and to Israeli, especially with the Iran threat rising.
And as you know, it's been a bit of, like you said, many people say that our administration has been generally supportive of Israel. Maybe there was a lack of chemistry between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Maybe that's a nice way to put that. But here is what Prime Minister Netanyahu has to say in a 60 Minutes interview that's coming up later. We have a clip of him talking about how he views incoming President Trump.
I know Donald Trump. I know him very well. And I think his attitude, his support for Israel is clear. He feels very warmly about the Jewish state, about the Jewish people, and about Jewish people. There's no question about that.
Yeah, he's talked about how he feels Trump will be truly supportive and understand the situation that Israel is facing there.
I was just with Netanyahu when he gave a briefing to about 400 foreign diplomats, ambassadors, defense attachés in Jerusalem just a week and a half ago. Netanyahu described himself as supremely optimistic about Israel's future. He didn't mention Trump in the speech, but the context seemed to be very strong. I now have a friend and an ally in the White House, and of course Vice President Mike Pence, I know him well, is strongly pro-Israel. This is the first time Netanyahu has ever had a Republican in the White House while he's been a prime minister, and he's the longest-serving prime minister in the history of Israel. So this is he's encouraged, and 83% of Israelis now say they believe that Trump will be pro-Israel. You look at the cabinet picks that are coming, General Mattis, Mike Pompeo at CIA, those are strong if you're looking for somebody who's focused on radical Islam and taking on both Iran and ISIS. I'm concerned about Tillerson. Obviously, you just had that segment. I think that President Trump should be talking to a CEO of ExxonMobil and somebody who knows Putin well. But Putin is a serious challenge to the Middle East, in Syria. He's a challenge to NATO, Georgia, Ukraine, Crimea, the Baltics I'm concerned about. Tillerson does not strike me as a conservative, good choice to draw a line in the sand with Putin.
Plenty of senators asking questions, and there'll be a thorough, obviously, hearing and vetting on if he is the peck, and we should know.
We don't know, and it could be a head fake to make us feel better about somebody else. Compare how Trump is dealing with China, where he's talking tough, but he sends Terry Branstad, the governor of Iowa, as a friend to China to say, you've got somebody you can talk to. That's not how he's approaching Putin, and he needs to.
All right, Joel Rosenberg, always good to see you.
Good to see you, Shannon. Appreciate it.
Leland?